On my way to work this morning, I saw a pack of African wild dog. So we're looking for them right now, and this is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
You are live.
Welcome, my name is Brent and I have the incredible VM on camera. Now, as I was moving from my house, which is on one side of quarantine, to the DRC at about 5:10 this morning, I saw 3 wild dogs running this way. And of course, for those of you who don't know, African wild dogs are my favorite animal. So we're in a hunt of them right now, and I'm hoping we get some luck. Also, congratulations to a bunch of people who managed to see a serval on the Djuma cam early this morning. Now keep an eye on that Djuma cam for me, because the dogs might pop up there. And that's the thing about wild dogs, they move so quickly and in all sorts of directions, you never know where they might pop up. Well, apparently today is actually International Dog Day, so hopefully we'll find wild dogs. I agree, and wouldn't it be fitting to find wild dogs on International Dog Day? We had elephants on International Elephant Day, we had lions on World Lion Day, so it's only fitting that the dogs do their part. Now remember, we are live in the middle of the African bush, and we're also interactive, so if you want to send me any questions or comments like Shamsung just did, you can use the email address questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Okay, so while we keep searching for the dogs like a dog with a bone, let's go see how Steph's doing this morning.
Good morning, and yes, it is actually a fine morning this morning, to be quite honest. Just remarked to Brian, who's on camera with me right now, there we go, that it's smelling good this morning. There's this awesome smell in the air. There's this, I don't know what it is, I think it's a bit of moisture, to be honest with you. We've got this bank of cloud that is rolling in. I'm going to stop and show you. Rolling in from the Indian Ocean, and I think we can smell the moisture associated with this front. Let me show you quickly, get into a nice place where I can actually just turn around here for you. You can see all of that. That was about half what it is now when we started, and that was only 20 minutes ago when we started driving around. So from the looks of things, it looks like it's going to be overcast before the end of game drive. Very nice. As you no doubt have seen, Brent is on the hunt for wild dogs, and he came rushing into camp this morning when it was still pitch black, which is unlike Brent. Of course, only something like a wild dog could elicit that type of behavior from him. Rushed into camp, rushed out of camp, and he's, as he says, like a dog after a bone. Or like a bone after the dog, I should say, is probably the better way of putting it. For me, I'm a little bit more sedate. So, good morning, Birdie, all the way from Georgia. You said, what do you think we'll see first today? Ooh, I don't actually know. That's a good question. I mean, obviously the anticipation of Brent finding dogs is hanging heavy in the air. And I mean, there couldn't be a better person looking for them, to be quite honest. He has that sort of dogged tenacity that is required to find wild dogs on the move. I don't actually know. You know, there was a lot of activity around the camp last night. At 1:45, something ran past our rooms outside our windows. Myself and Kirsty woke up and listened to this crash and commotion, And it would seem like something was chasing either a bushbuck or some impala, or I don't know what it was, past the bedrooms. And then there was also a bushbuck making an alarm call, probably about half an hour after that, also around the camp somewhere. So I'm going to make a few loops around the camp and see what we can find in terms of some tracks. Maybe we find those lions, maybe that mating pair is still around. Perhaps it was those dogs. Maybe Tingana turned around and came back towards the camp last night if he had bumped into those lions. I don't know, but it seems like something along those lines we're going to be finding. So to answer your question, I think one of the predators is going to be first. But you know, time will tell. It could also be one of those mornings that shows much promise but delivers nothing. Difficult to say. Anna, you've asked you've asked all the way from Atlanta, so good evening to you. And you've asked, are there any nighttime birds that make noises all the time or all night? There are. There absolutely are. There's nightjars. Nightjar is a type of bird that does call. The fiery neck nightjar is calling pretty much the whole night at the moment. Senegal lapwing also have a tendency to fly around at night from place to place and make noises all night. Water dikup, water and spotted dikup, or water and spotted thickney is the English name. They also make noises all night. What else makes noises all night right now in terms of birds? All your little owls. So pill-spotted owl, Scops owl, white-faced owl, barred owl, they all make noise at night. Verreaux's eagle owl, that'll make a noise at night. Barn owl, that screeches halfway through the night as well. So a few, more than a dozen at least anyway. Alrighty, this is Shortcut Gallego, one of those roads that just seems to see intense movement of animals backwards and forwards, mainly because it's situated quite close to two quite important water sources, one being Gallego Pan, off on that side, and Vuyatela Pan, and also it sits at the headway to a couple of these drainage line systems that are in front of us here, and that means that there's very good grass on the verges of these seep lines that you get. But while I turn down here and go and scour this, Brent Leo Smith has an update for you on his wild dog tracking.
So we heard some hyena activity in this area around there. So I'm just having a quick look with my binos. Now they could have been interacting with the wild dogs. But you got to be quick to catch the dogs. Unfortunately, there are three of us checking. So we're not looking only close by. I'm also checking in the distance, seeing if I can see that sort of magnificently fast-moving speck of a wild dog through the bush. Now, if they've chased something, they could have changed direction, and they could go in any direction, really. Okay, isn't this exciting? Come on, dogs, make an appearance for International Dog Day. Hi, Lady Lone Wolf. Lady Lone Wolf would know to know, is there more than one breed of wild dog? Not in Africa. There's only, it's got a few different names. The Cape Hunting Dog, the Painted Wolf, Lichen Pictus is its scientific name, which means painted wolf. There is only one breed, and they've been separated from domestic dogs or any member of the Canis family for quite some time. and their dentition is different. They've got teeth that are designed to rip, and they've even got an extra toe. And so they've been separate from domestic dogs for well over 1 million years in terms of their evolutionary paths. There are other species of wild dogs throughout the world, but only one in Africa. Now, probably the most similar in terms of the way they behave and hunt, so just listen for a second, is the Indian doe, which is a wild dog species that occurs in India. So if they are hunting and they get separated, they do one of my favorite calls in the bush. It's called a woo call. So what they do is go woo, 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 and to try locate each other. Now the other thing I'm listening for is excited, pitched sort of squeaks, bubbles and whistles. That's what they sound like, and that's if they've made a kill. We're checking carefully here, see if there are any tracks. Last track I had was coming in this direction. Hi Andrew in Vermont. Andrew would like to know, do the wild dogs have a favorite spot? Not really. They tend to move vast distances. Your average wild dog's pack home range is about 120,000 acres. So they're on the move. The only time they really stay in one spot for a while is when they're denning. But this is a dispersal pack, so they haven't bred this year, so it's unlikely that they're going to den. So they just keep bombshelling around. Yeah, so I'm going to keep searching around this area. While we do that, let's go see how Steph's search is going this morning.
Our search is going fine. Thank you very much, Brent. Yes, so we've just gone and checked Gallagher Pan, and there's some lioness tracks and male lion tracks that come to the pan and then turn around and come back out onto this road. So an in and out track. And their tracks leave the road just in front of us and head into this very thick block where they were yesterday morning, or yesterday afternoon in actual fact. So I think they're probably still in here, and rather than us bundu bashing inside here and trying to figure out where they are from a game path point of view, I think what I'm going to do is go and circle the block to see if their tracks come out of here at all. So yeah. So Andrew, all the way from Vermont, good morning, or good evening to you still. Let's, I'd also like to see some lions this morning. You just made a comment that you'd love to see some lions. I think it would be a good thing to see lions. I just want to turn the game drive channel off. As you know, I get squint-eyed when I have 300 people speaking in my ear about stuff. So I think that these lions are still in here. We did sit we sat for a little bit to sit and listen to hear if we could hear any growling or any vocalization of any sort. And we couldn't hear anything for the 2 or 3 minutes that we did sit quietly at the pan listening. But there's no doubt that there was a lot of activity around here last night. And I think to look close to the camps here is not going to be the answer. I want to make a quick circle and make sure that they haven't actually crossed out. And then what we'll do is we'll start working slowly inwards from there, or I'll just offset it to Herbert. So Jay Atkinson, you've just asked what my opinion is on white lion. It's actually interesting that you've asked that, because it's only really become a topic of interest for me over the last year or so. And I'll tell you why. There were 2 white lion cubs born to a pride, a natural pride in the Kruger Park, but on the far eastern side of the Kruger National Park about 1.5 years ago now. The original white lions, or the original leucistic lions in modern times, which was a couple of years ago, I don't know exactly the year that it was, but it was in the 1990s or 1980s somewhere, was a pride of lion in the Timbavati, just adjacent to the Kruger National Park, and about 40 or 50 miles from here in that direction. And what's happened is, because there was such an anomaly, there was such a fantastic thing to find, lions were taken out of the Timbavati. I'm not really going to discuss how, because I think that they were done nefariously. And white lions were bred because they looked so superb, they looked so awesome. And so now what you've got is, you've got a very rare, very special natural population of white lion, and the white lion recessive gene that lives in populations of lions in the Kruger National Park. But you also have this breeding programs of white lions, breeding programs and all the negativity that I would like to associate to them, that breed these animals for a variety of different reasons. And while I don't have a problem with the natural populations of white lions, I've seen a few of them, and I think that they're absolutely fantastic. The bred white lions, you can see, have been inbred a little bit. And I don't think that there's enough care and attention given to their bloodstock, or to their genetic viability or diversity. So how do I feel about it, I suppose, was your actual question. Breeding of white lions, I think, needs to be done with more care. And white lion populations in the Kruger National Park need to be treasured. And you need to come and visit these places, and you need to go and see if you can find them. Spend your time and your money in the park to come and have a look for them, because lion populations are crashing so badly, and because it's good to keep money pouring into these conservation areas that harbor these gene pools. No, I don't think we're going to see that one, Brian. There's a ghost bird, as they like to call it, or the grey-headed bushrat, that's calling about 50 or so meters into the bush in that drainage line, but it gets so thick and that bird is so camouflaged, we wouldn't even be able to show you. So onward we go to try and pick up any sign we can of this male and female. I expect them to have walked through the middle of this block at some point last night. The only thing that's walked on this road so far has been a hippo. It isn't just fantastic, you know. Where does this hippo come from? I know there was a hippo in Buffelshoek Dam last night. Could it be the same one? Could it be another hippo from a different area outside of Djuma's Traverse that has now come and walked here? Could it be one of the hippos from Sydney's? More than likely, actually. All these unanswered questions. Debbie, you've just asked me a question that I've been asking myself for the last couple of minutes as well. Has that zebra we saw the other day given birth yet? She last was seen walking in exactly this direction, Debbie. And as I was onto this road, I thought to myself, I wonder if we're going to see this pregnant zebra. And I'm definitely going to keep my eyes open for her. Before we do that, though, I just want to show you the fact that these clouds are marching on. Doesn't look like they're going to come over, but we've also got the sun that's going to creep over the top of those clouds. It looks like, I don't know, in a minute or two from here. And we haven't been able to see sunrise yet this morning. Not quite a silver lining, but let's see if it gets more silver as it goes on. You can see the rays of sunlight. Well, actually, it's the rays of sunlight being blocked by the clouds, which is causing us to see them come out, like radiate out. I just think it's fantastic. And that is as it is, folks. It's as live as I'm seeing it, and exactly the same colors. I don't know how the witchcraft Brian is doing with his camera at the moment is making it possible for you to see the sky exactly as we're seeing it now. Well done, Mr. Brian. His face, a mask of concentration. Actually, it's only his eyes are sticking out. He's got a puff on his face. I can't see anything else. I'm imagining the grim determination. Have a look at those clouds just marching in. Still nothing getting closer to us. So that bank of clouds that you're seeing is over the Lobombo mountain ranges on the other side of the Kruger National Park, on the boundary between South Africa and Mozambique. That looks like it's just a standing bank of moisture. And to describe the smell that we're smelling this morning, or to describe the aroma in the air, it smells like it should be misty. I don't quite know how else to explain it, but there's this, it's quite humid this morning, with a bit of a chill in the air. Not as cold as it was yesterday or the day before, that's for sure. Looks like the sun's coming now. Looks like it wants to burst at the top. Still busy seeing those radial lines of sunlight. Now the sun is actually way above those clouds already, but because we are 8 light minutes away from the sun, it's going to take 8 minutes for us to see the light coming from the star that is already above those clouds, I would imagine. Look at that. Now it's also giving us a chance while we're waiting for the sun to come up to listen to the bush around us. And that's important because to find a mating pair of lion is sometimes difficult. They don't always move a lot. And it's really only the sound of them mating that allows you to find them very often. I just heard them. Did you hear that? Well, question answered. They're somewhere in front of us. It sounds far away. We'll listen again. I've got a fix on that sound, although my one ear is blocked with an earphone, but I think it's north of us. What's happening to the sun, Mr. Brian?
I don't know.
It wants to come, but it's just not. Okay, we got the lions roaring behind us. Just hold on one sec. Our stations there, we got vocalization, lions, Galago Pan. So it's rather embarrassing because it was my job to check Galago Pan, and now these lions are roaring from right there. And it sounds like the whole pride is there as well. There was more than one lion that was roaring. Come on, son, what are you doing? These banks of clouds are just growing faster than what the sun is rising, actually. Look at that coming out the bottom. Just 1 second. Of course, I've created confusion on this radio now that needs to be sorted out. Here comes the sun. Look at that. Oh, that is a beautiful sunrise. I don't quite know which direction the sun is actually shining there. I think it's actually above the... No, there it comes. I can see it now peeking over the top at the bottom. I mean, that's just like a hole in the clouds that is just becoming intense. Is that the sun, or is that just the clouds burning at the bottom?
Yeah, I think the sun's coming there.
Yeah, it's so difficult to actually see. Just look at that epic sunrise though. That is very awesome. You can see the clouds above us now starting to catch the first rays of those sun. Got some hyenas now that I can hear probably about a mile or two away. There's the sun coming up bottom right of that hole in the clouds. There we go. Eventually, gee whiz. Well done, Mr. Brian. A majestic sunrise for you this morning. All right, I get your point. We'll go and find the lions. Thanks everybody for reminding me what my actual job is, and that's to find and show you animals. So, all right. There we go, Mr. Brian. Excuse me on the radio just for a second. I just got to... The stations, excuse me, I was just live for a while. The audio I had was of lion vocalizing around Galago Pan. I am on Galago Shortcut following up. All right. While I slowly make my way there, which should be exactly the opposite of how Brent would approach this particular exercise, we're going to send you across to him to find out what he's been up to tracking those wild dogs.
So we found the dog tracks. It seems like they've cut a bit further to the north towards Sandy Patch. They went off the power lines. So now we're moving, as they've said, quite quickly around to the opposite side. We're going to slow down shortly to see, hopefully we get a view of them popping through the bush. But they do move so incredibly quickly. Just hyena tracks so far. Morning, Karen in Sacramento. Karen would like to know, where do the wild dogs come from and what do they eat? Well, Karen, wild dogs are an indigenous species to most of sub-Saharan Africa in your savanna zones, and they are the second most endangered canid or dog species in Africa. Only about 4,500 left in the wild. And they eat small to medium-sized antelope, impala, kudu, waterbuck, anything like that. Let's have a look here for tracks again. Lots of hyena tracks. Okay, I'm just going to check a little bit further up this way. So, Karen, wild dogs evolved in Africa about 2 million years ago. They split from the common ancestor of the domestic dog, the wolf. And they've developed into incredible hunters with amazing stamina. Oh, just listen to that. And they can do about 60 kilometers an hour and keep up that speed for quite a few kilometers. I don't see any tracks here now, so check back down towards Aubrey's Road. Now, while we're looking for the dogs, I got some news on some cats. Tingana's tracks, unfortunately, he's vacated our property, and I got told a very interesting story that'll set a lot of your hearts aflutter about little Shongile. She nearly lost her life yesterday afternoon to the south of us. she chased after something, which she might have assumed was a squirrel or a scrub hare. It was a baby baboon. And then the whole troop of baboons, the males, came through to attack her. But fortunately for little Shongile, her mother is quite a fierce cat, and Karula apparently jumped in and defended her and gave her an opportunity to escape, and nearly got hurt by the baboons herself. So that happened just to the south of us. They didn't see Hosanna, so I'm pretty sure he's fine though, but he might not have been right there. And with the pandemonium caused by something like baboons, oh, there's a nest. Do you see it, Vim? Okay, you see this where this tree expired a long time ago, and I'll go into that little section there. A little bit to the right. Look at that. Look at that for camouflage. That is that little Senegal lapwing nest. So I just saw mom stand up. So a ground nesting bird's nest, and you can see how incredible that camouflage is. If I didn't see mom stand up, I wouldn't have seen those eggs. There's mom there. Senegal lapwing. For those of you who still know the old names of birds. A lesser black-winged plover, if I remember correctly. But we're still, I was hoping the dogs would pop out into this open area. So, as much time as we do spend with Karula and the cubs and other things, lots of stuff happens when we're not there. And those cubs have probably nearly lost their life multiple times. And one must remember that is natural. If all the predators, all their cubs got to adulthood all the time, there'd be too many predators. Come on, puppies. Now, Tony's wondering what came first, wild dogs or wolves? I think they came about concurrently, but as I said, of different arms off the evolutionary tree. There's just the elephant tracks here. Now, something like elephant could also change a wild dog's direction. Rather than run right up to the ellies, they might go around them. We've seen elephants chase wild dogs many, many times. Now, their tracks were heading straight west. They're now wondering if they might have cut back to the north. There's a couple of spots here that we've seen the wild dogs cross quite a few times. Aubrey's Road's always a firm favourite. Hyena tracks. Now Steph's asking, why do lapwings always seem to nest right next to the road? Well, they don't, Steph. Those are just the ones we're actually able to spot. But the roads quite often utilize those short grass areas where we want to look for animals. So we put ourselves in good lapwing nesting country. Oh, what's that? Okay, here we go. Here are the tracks again, going that way. So at least one here. We have tracks of 2 over there. Okay, time to turn around. What do you think? Sandy patch, Vim? Sydney's? There's taxes there. Oh, no sign of them. Standing by. Look. There's wild dog done right here on top of the hyena dung. I see them. Tax. I've just got Monkons on now on Vuatila access Aubrey's Junction. I'm just trying to figure direction. So that's not uncommon. Wild dogs often defecate on top of hyena dung. Oh dear. Sounds like they might have got ahead of us and crossed to the west into Simbambili. But we'll keep checking. Only tracks of 1. Let's just make sure they didn't go down Aubrey's. Doesn't look like it. Hopefully the dogs haven't managed to avoid us on International Dog Day. We're going to keep checking. So while we do that, let's jump back on board with Steph and see how his hunt for the cats are going.
Welcome back with us. Our hunt for the cats is so far unsuccessful. They're in this massively thick block that they were in yesterday. I'm almost sure of it. But what we are going to do is go down this little game path here. Brian has a feeling that they're closer to this game path, and it wouldn't hurt for us to actually take a drive down there, because I also actually think they're lying somewhere between us and them. We've got the tracks going over here. You can see on that game path there, you'll see the tracks coming down to the pan. There's one, yep, on it. That's a big male's tracks. So they're definitely here. So now the question is to try and find them. I'm not going to spend too long over here, to be honest. I'm going to be calling in. So Jason, you just asked me if the 2 lion prides successfully raise all their cubs, are we likely to have a lion war? Jason, probably not. I'll tell you the reason why. Is that lions, let's just switch off here and have a listen. Lions have a set number of adult females that live in an area. And so what will happen is when you have a drastic decline in lion numbers like we did with this pride takeover, generally speaking, most of the cubs that are born are females with some males. But as the pride starts to swell, as the numbers of lions reach this carrying capacity, for lack of a better word, the females will start to have more male cubs than females. Why is that? It's because the male cubs start to become nomadic. And so there'll be a given number of adult female lions in any one area with a variable number of cubs. And as they grow to fill this niche where they are in, the male lions will start to shed off. The male lions become nomadic and move away and start and take over prides of their own in other areas. So I don't think that there'll be a lion war here. I mean, we probably will lose 1 or 2 cubs along the way for whatever reason. And the male cubs will leave, and I think what we'll quickly find out is that the Nkuhumas, I'm not too sure exactly what their carrying capacity is. I haven't been in this area for that long, but it'll probably be somewhere between 6 and 8 adult females, somewhere around there, I suppose. And when they start to get to these 6 or 8 adult females, they will have lots of babies. The pride might swell to 20, 25 lion. It's not uncommon to have prides of up to 30 lion, cubs included in this particular place. But the amount of adult females will always be a set amount of females. And then you've got the Styx lioness who have exactly the same dynamic, so to say, where there will be a fixed number of females, adult females in the Styx lioness territory. So these lions will move in this territory and they'll be able to perform in this territory. Males will come and go, cubs will come and go. But there won't be a war for territory, so to say. That happens between lions, male lions. Male lions will fight one another for dominance over an area that contains females. A slightly different, there's an overlap there, but male lion dynamics are different to female lion dynamics. Female lions are hereditary to an area. They stay in the area where they're born. And successive generations of females will roll through the ages through that particular area. Who knows how many years the Nkuhumas have actually held sway over here. It would be such a fascinating exercise to do a linealogy exercise if genetic material was available for so long, to see for how many generations, how many dozens of years, perhaps how many even hundreds or even thousands of years the Nkuhuma females have had this particular patch of bush. Whereas for males, they will come in, they will take over an area, they will dominate the females in that area, they'll be allowed to mate to those females, they will join those females at meals, they'll have protection, they'll look after their cubs, but they actually operate on a completely different plane, a completely different dynamic. So, what we're hearing for here, or what I've stopped to listen for here, is any noise of those lions. They are there somewhere, if I had to put my fingers on it, inside that tangle of bush. And what I think is going to be the easiest to do is actually to call Herbert and ask Herbert to go inside there and go and find them, rather than me going in there and finding them. We've got some vultures. Hey, we've got some vultures. Let's go forward a little bit so that you can see that vulture. There we go. Yes, we have some vultures. Hold on, Mr. Brian. A vulture standing at the top of... Here's Herbert. He comes as if called. He's obviously had enough of my incompetence. Oh, sorry, my hand was in the fray there. He's actually had enough of my incompetence, and he's moved into the area to come and give us a hand, which is a good thing. That is a white-backed vulture. And then Brian said there's a tree full of vultures a little bit further on. Good morning, Herbie. How are you? Good. We are live at the moment, so I'm going to be sharing this story with all of us. So I was on Shortcut Galago, and I heard the lions roaring in here somewhere. Tracks that I've found around the pan are just going to the pan. I didn't find where they went back again. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind giving us a hand, it's going to be difficult to pick. Let's go to Herbs if we can, so you can see what Herbert looks like this morning. Hold on, we're going to come and say hello to you, Mr. Herbert. So there's a track here, but this was from last night. The fresher tracks come out onto the... There we go. That's Herbert. His beautiful smile again in his tracking vehicle. Yes. Okay. They sound almost like they're in exactly the same place they were yesterday, I would imagine. Yeah, I'll jump down. Cool. Can I reverse my car past you? Thanks, Herbie. Alright, so Herbert has kindly offered to find these lions for us while we carry on looking for other interesting things. Herbie, I don't know where the fresh tracks left here. I would imagine that they're somewhere here, but they sounded like they were lying here somewhere close by. Okay, cool. All right. See you just now. Try not to get eaten if you can. All right, everybody, that's Herbert. Gonna go do his thing for us. I'm very, very thankful that we have him. Thank you, Herbie. So Footy Odd has just asked me what happens to the overthrown males, and that's actually a very, very good question, Footy Odd. And the reason for that is that up until I started here and watched the Birmingham boys take over the Matimbas, which were the two dominant. The Birmingham boys are the coalition that now hold sway in this area, and the Matimbas are the males that were deposed here. And up until I had watched this particular pride takeover happen, I would have said that the deposed males are usually either injured and move off or are moved off into other male lions' territories that are also younger and stronger than what they are, and eventually they are killed. That was my understanding and my experience up to this point. But what's happened is a couple of years ago, a coalition of male lions moved into the Sabi Sand Game Reserve from the Kruger National Park and killed a lot of lions. They killed a lot of male lions, they killed a lot of female lions, and they left a male lion void here. And it's taken many years for this male lion void to be filled, and it's only now starting to be filled. So what happened was the two male lions that were dominant here were kicked off by these 5 young. At the time there were 5, there are now 4 of them. And all that these male lions did was just shifted a little bit out of their territory into a territory that didn't have male lions. And they were still young enough and still strong enough to fight off the peripheral males, which had too much area to cover for what they could cover effectively. And they now live quite happily on the Sand River. As far as I understand, the Matimba Coalition, which is made up of Hairy Belly and some other male lion, I can't really remember his name off the cuff here, but excuse me? Oh no, sorry. Oh, Hairy Belly and Ginger. Sorry, I'm just getting Kirsten to help me with my lion names here. Made up of the two male lions. They now live on the Sand River, and they're living quite happily. The last time I heard anything about them, they were swallowing a hippo while relaxing next to the river and the burbling brook with the sun over their heads. So it's not necessarily true that male lions that are deposed get killed in the fight. They might just give up like these Matimbas did and move into an area that doesn't have any females or any real overlap of males. So it's been quite interesting for me to actually experience that over this last year, and something alien to what I know and to what I understand as lion behavior. Those clouds have almost completely burnt off, can you believe it? It's going to be another beautiful day. So what we're going to do is we're just going to circle this block. We don't want to get too far away from Herbert. The reason being is that he might actually need our help in trying to find these lions. He's got some fresh tracks on that game path that we were parked on. The lion tracks were going into the bush. Hopefully he'll find them fairly quickly. Hopefully they'll be in an area that we can actually access with the cars. I've walked lots in this area, and apart from Djuma Smith, no other human being on this planet could get in there. But anyway, on the Djuma Smith saga, he is probably dying to update you on what's been happening to the tracks and the tracking of those wild dogs. So off you go to him, and we'll catch up in a little bit.
So tracks of those wild dogs have crossed into Arathusa, so have we. We're heading now towards Red Dam on a bit of a hunch. And so I thought I saw something through there. Just check here quickly. Okay, let's go have a look. So they could be coursing through this area. It's a good area. There's, oh, Okay, not important, that update. So there's a couple of people helping me look for these wild dogs now. And I've let the guys know in Arathusa that we're coming across. And I'm hoping that they maybe went towards Red Dam, which is just down here. So we're going to check Southern Fork down to Red Dam, see if there are any tracks. If there are no tracks there, that means they're still between the boundary and where we are. Now, come on dogs, it's International Dog Day, you have to make an appearance. Hi Michael. Michael, who's 18, would like to know what would happen if these 3 dogs ran into one of the bigger packs, say the Sands pack or the Investec pack. Would they kill or ignore? It all depends. Often they will actually try a fight, and actually the Sands pack killed one of the Investec pack last year. So sometimes they'll fight. Normally what will happen is the smaller pack, being just 3 animals, will try to skedaddle out of there as fast as possible. Oh, bounce. So I'm sort of not expecting to find tracks on this road. I think those dogs were kept around the Murakani River. There's no road in that section. Sorry, it just looks like a drag mark on the road. It's quite hard here. Lots of elephant tracks. Yeah, it's Ellie's. William's wondering why the wild dogs defecate on top of the hyena dung. I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a dominance thing. I've seen them do it often. But that particular spot, sorry William, just need to have a look at this track and some softer soil. Okay, sorry about that, William. We're back now. It's probably just a dominance thing. I've seen them do it many times, defecate on top of hyena dung. It's sort of like, haha, I am on top, I am therefore the better. Sean, I'm sorry. Sean, has anyone checked Red Dam yet? Okay, copy. I think I'll keep heading towards Sibombili Cutline then. Okay, copy. I'll check Red Dam quickly and then I'll come back up towards the western sectors. Okay, so there were some tracks around here but still heading west. So we're going to check Red Dam in case they went there for the water. Hi Chloe. Chloe is in Illinois, and Chloe would like to know how many dogs are in a pack normally. Chloe, they can vary from 2 to 40. So it's very dependent on how successful their breeding's been. So how new wild dog packs are formed is generally 1, sometimes 2 members of the same sex will disperse from their natal pack and basically run around till they meet another 2 members of the opposite sex who've dispersed from their natal pack. So, and this normally, that's one way a pack is formed. The other way is if a pack gets very big, 40, 50, and it does happen from time to time, then they'll just split because it's so difficult to keep all the pack members fed. Now, Dark Tranquility is wondering how hyenas feel about wild dogs. Well, they actually quite like them because wild dogs, they don't have massively powerful jaws. So what happens is they leave quite a lot of the carcass behind. And the hyenas, in certain parts of Africa, what they do is they will literally just follow the packs while they're in their territory and just scavenge off. Wild dogs have quite a successful defense mechanism against hyenas. Oh, there's a fish eagle. He's flying off. No sign of the dogs though. Let's head back to the west. So they have very successful defense mechanisms against hyenas, and the hyenas will often put up with what looks like quite a severe beating from dogs biting them. They normally bite them on the bottom, and what a hyena will often do is basically reverse into a thick bush, so it keeps the front gnashes out to defend itself against the dogs. It's very, very unusual that the dogs ever do any serious damage to something like a hyena. Now, the biggest threat to wild dogs is, of course, the lions, and lions are probably the biggest killers of wild dogs, wild dog puppies, out of all the animals we get out here. So we're going to keep on the hunt. I'm really hoping these dogs haven't moved all the way west and outside of our Travis area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try shoot right to our western boundary and then work my way back east. Wait, just hang on a second. What's that? Before we disappear. Oh, look at that. It's a kukul. Oh, there we go. A Birchall's, oh no, sorry, white-browed or Birchall's kukul. Looks like a Birchall's skulking off. I haven't seen one of those in a while, have you? Now, nicknamed the rainbird, maybe that's why we haven't seen them for so long. There's been no rain. Okay, we're going to keep heading to the west, and then we're going to jump back and work our way back east. Hopefully we have some luck with those dogs. While we do that, let's see what Steph's got.
It's not quite a lion, but definitely close enough. It has a heartbeat. And this is an impala ram on his own, which is unusual, to be quite honest. Impala rams are generally this time of the year with other impala rams and almost always in close association with females. And he's not. He's a mature ram in very good condition. All fuzzed up against the cold, and you can see that almost reddish tinge that he has to that patch of hair, or that band of darker colored hair that goes across his back. You can almost see that fuzz that I'm talking about. Those are the erectile muscles that each hair is attached to, are standing up, and that's just to slow the passage of air down across his body and give his body heat chance to warm up that cushion of hair. Similar to how our hairs stand up, although obviously much more effective, and it gives them this brushed look, like somebody's taken a comb and brushed them the wrong way. His whole body is actually the hair standing up. Although, to be honest, with lions roaring around the area, I'd also have every hair on my body standing up if I was an impala. He's nibbling at the grass, really just picking up. I'm seeing if he's nibbling up leaves or grass, but he's actually chewing grass. It's a very good area, this, actually, for grass. I've walked here in summer, and the water literally leaks out of the ground here. And I think that the best grass is here, which probably explains why he's here on his own. He's clever enough to know exactly which food is good for him and which isn't. Now, on my eternal quest to find a weeping boerbean with flowers, in the background there's another very healthy weeping boerbean, and I'm busy having a look with my binoculars now to see if I can see a red tinge to it. And you can see there, just above the impala in the background, there's this green tree. And that is exactly the green tree. And you can see there very clearly there's no reddish tinge to that tree whatsoever. So while a healthy boerbean that hasn't got any flowers, I'm going to say, I'm not giving up, but what I'm going to say is it's probably a bit early to start looking for weeping boerbeans this week. And we'll have to try again next week. The good thing is that I've now marked the healthiest trees that I know of in this particular area. And it's going to be easy to keep almost a daily check on them. Dawn chorus of birds still continuing. So, Chris, all the way from Vancouver, wow, that is far away from where we are here. You've asked me, do we get honeybees in the area? Absolutely, Chris. We absolutely get honeybees in the area. Funnily enough, though, last year I didn't see one hive. Not even one. Did you see a hive last year, Brian? Didn't see any hives last year. But they are fairly common out here, Chris. And although we do seem to have no bees around at the moment, generally in wetter years, our camps are just flooded by bees because of the availability of fruit and everything else. This year we've had none. I wonder if that is a sign or not. We'll keep an observation on that. Thanks for reminding me on that, actually. That's an interesting point. Where have all the honeybees gone? They, like almost any other animal, need water to build or to mix in with the nectar that then eventually distills itself to honey. So they are water dependent. It's just such a peaceful vista, this. Impala, green tree, bird chorus. I'm hearing some dwarf mongoose making their alarm calls at something. The impalas actually reacted to the dwarf mongoose making an alarm call. All right, and I think it's time for us to move on. Carry on going. Goodbye, Mr. Impala. Thank you. So Greg, you've just made a comment that you've just found us 3 years ago and you've been addicted to this particular show. I, for one, am going to welcome you again. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the Wild Earth and Safari Live family. There's also a waterbuck there. And you've asked how many years has the Safari Live product been on the go? I think it's since 2007. Although I stand to be corrected. But since 2007, Greg, we've been going. And mainly operating out of Djuma, although there was a short stint that we went to, I think, Thornybush. But since 2007, we've been going. So a few years now, doing these types of safaris. And as the rest of our community will no doubt enlighten you, we're a far cry today from where we started off. Very humble beginnings. Lots of technical things to get over and pioneer. But since then, we've managed to weather every storm. And we have what we have today. That is a waterbuck's bottom that we're having a look at there. I promise. You can just see the tips of his horns on the right-hand side of that greyish blob. There we go. That termite mound is a waterbuck. All through the sticks. And let's carry on, let's carry on. Not the best sight of a waterbuck. Into the sun, through the sticks. Alright, we're still busy circling this block, waiting to hear what Herbert has to say about those lion tracks. I know what he's doing. He's probably tracking them footprint for footprint very gingerly because the blocks are very thick. Lynn, you've just asked me what the weeping boerbean flowers smell like. I can't actually remember. It's actually been a bit of time since I've smelt a weeping boerbean flower. I generally just enjoy looking at them and all the birds and insects that they attract. I don't actually know. That's a good question. I can't remember the smell whatsoever. Chloe in Illinois, good morning Chloe, you just asked me how common are tree diseases in this area. Chloe, I have very, very little knowledge on tree diseases. What I can say though, that fungal infections here are very common amongst the trees here, and very often we'll have trees that fall down and die due to a fungus infection that they get from when elephant or another animal scrapes their bark off, or a storm breaks their branch off. They get fungus and borer beetles that infest the wood, eat out the core of the tree, and then the tree falls over in the next storm or when it gets rubbed against by another animal. So they do have fungus here, and I think that's probably what I know about trees and what I've seen at least from trees. Between fungus and borer beetles, they have the most devastating effect on the trees. And then of course the other disease that trees have here are probably elephant. Elephant have been knocking down trees here non-stop basically for the last couple of months while this drought has been in force and there hasn't been too much grass to eat. We're hoping that that breaks soon in the next couple of months. It's predicted that it's going to be a wettish year, and with that comes all the grass and all the rejuvenation of the bush, and the elephant will then stop smashing down trees and will hopefully start to eat more grass and give these trees time to recover themselves. Alrighty, now we've now crossed to an area where I know that game path that Herbert was on comes out. That game path comes out where we are now. And I've been stopping and listening and driving and stopping and listening for some time now. And there's no tracks of these lions on the floor here. There's also no sign of them, so they're obviously not moving. So I would imagine that just given enough time, Herbert is going to give us a call and tell us that he's found the lions, or they have found him. And if it's doable to drive in there, then we'll go and see them. Just hold on, Susan. I'm going to answer your question now. Herbie's calling me. Yeah, go Herbert. Go with your message. I'll be with you now, Susan. Copy that. Be there in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Alright, so Herbie says I must come and join him at the pan, which can only mean one thing. Something has walked out of the bush and gone to the pan. So Susan, you've just asked me, have I ever seen an African golden cat? No, I haven't, Susan. I haven't seen an African golden cat. I've only seen pictures of them and they look fantastic. Here we get something a little bit similar. We get a caracal here. And although not 100% the same, they're the same size with the same sort of reddish coat. I'd love to see an African golden cat. If I'm not mistaken, they occur in Ethiopia, although please feel free to update me on that. Alright, so as you can see, I'm driving at my top speed, roughly half the top speed or a third of the top speed that friend Brent reaches. An eighth, Brian says. This is about as fast as I can handle out here. Even Kirsty says I'm driving too slowly. So while we get to Herbert at the pan, he hasn't told me what's there just yet. I would presume that it's the lion. Hopefully it is. We're going to send you over to Brent so that you can enjoy his company while I speed through the bush here and see what Herbie's found for us.
So we had tracks in the Marikani riverbed, probably about a kilometer from here. So we left the tracks, we've zoomed to our southern boundary on Arathusa, and we're moving back sort of northeast at the moment with our fingers crossed that they haven't managed to sneak past us. Now fortunately this area is quite open, so even if they are far from the road, there's a good chance we're going to spot them. Come on, puppies! Hi Justin, and Justin says, because it's International Dog Day, have I ever had a dog? Justin, I've had many dogs over my life. I don't have one currently because of where I'm living and moving around a lot. So it would be unfair for me to have a pet when I couldn't actually put enough time into it. So I think the first dog I can remember that was mine, not a family dog, was a dog that I named Gummy Bear, after the Gummy Bears, yes. It was a Rottweiler cross Doberman, if I remember correctly. And she was very sweet. She used to let us ride her. And then I've had another dog. We didn't know what to name it, so we named it Angaz, which is the Zulu word for I don't know. And that was a Great Dane cross with Boerboel, which is an African Mastiff, which were originally bred for hunting lions. And then after that we had quite a few Boerboels or Boerboel Mastiff crosses. The biggest one was my last dog. Its name was Doofus. And Doofus was a massive female Boerboel, probably weighing about 70 kilograms. And beautiful, beautiful dog. And then as a family we've had lots of different dogs. We've had Bull Terriers, Jack Russells. My mother loves Jack Russells. She's still got one at the moment, and that's called Nunu. And the one before that was Hoho, which are both little names for bugs because they're small. And what else have we had? We've had pointers, street dogs that were rescues, and let's have a look. I'm really hoping, so the last dog tracks were not far from here. I didn't see anything on the southwestern side, so maybe they headed a bit further west. Maybe they caught something. Now, one of the funniest dog stories I know, and not wild dogs, but domestic dogs. So I grew up in a little town on the edge of the Okavango Delta called Maun. Just 1 second. Sean, you looking for me? Sorry, Sean, not copying you. Okay, well, we'll wait for Sean to get hold of me again. And so there was a lady who will remain nameless who imported these very fancy French poodles that had the hairdo and the pom-poms and all that nonsense. And what happened was quite often during the winter months in Maun, there's a lot of donkeys. There are more donkeys than people, and quite a few of them die during the dry season. And this lady's very fancy white French poodles escaped the fence and were behaving like proper wild dogs, getting stuck inside the donkey carcass with all the village dogs. And she was very surprised. But of course, it doesn't matter how much we fluff and plump and snip and make dogs look how we want them. If there's a piece of rotting meat there, that dog's going to be in it. Sean. Sorry, Sean, I couldn't copy your last message. Negative, I checked down to the southern boundary. I had no luck there. The last tracks were in the Murray-Kent, so I'm coming along Road 7 now, and they keep checking back towards the east. I don't know, maybe they went south. I'll check there next. Sorry about that. But there we go. Dogs will be dogs, and I will continue to search for them. And while we do that, let's go to Steph and a surprise.
And true to form, Herbert, with all the skill of an inexperienced tracker, found these lions at Galagopan and called us in. And there we have some of the youngest members of this pride. Oh, they're cute. I must be honest, there's very few things that move a person as much as seeing these cubs, or cubs of this particular size. So Herbert tells me that he walked into the lions, all of them together, in this block, exactly where we thought they were going to be. And they all ran away from him. And they all ran to this place, and then have come out of the bush here. And they don't look scared at all. I mean, these lions, in all honesty, have had people around them for quite some time. And although terrified of people on foot, and can be quite scary if you walk into them on the wrong day, they tend to settle down quite. My point is, they tend to settle down after a scare. Some lions that I've walked into the Kruger stay alert for ages. I'm going to go just around these lions so that we've got them drinking. I'm going to scare these babies. I'm going to take a bit of a wide loop. And try and come into them from the other side and get them drinking. Do you want the sun? Where, Brian? Alex, you've just asked me, how do lions stay warm in winter? That's a good question, Alex. They do shiver, the same as what we do. They also have that quite thick fur, and they lie on top of one another as well. Have a look at this fantastic sight. Look at that little baby. Doesn't need to drink any water, in actual fact. They get all their fluid need dust around their feet. Oh, lovely. Yeah. Should I go forward a bit more, Brian?
Yeah, we can.
I'm going to go forward a little bit more. We're going to get this big male coming down to drink as well. I think it's going to make for some spectacular shots for you. Get the sun 100% out. Herbie is the bomb, Margaret. I agree 100% with you. Have a look at this. Get your screen grabs ready. Now, I'm not speaking just because it's so interesting to listen to them drink. There's nothing wrong with the sound. Oh, they smell skinny. I haven't eaten in a few days. These little cubs, obviously oblivious to the needs of the pride in terms of security and food, and are just reveling in the fact that they are surrounded by lots of playmates. That tail swishing there. There we go, exhibiting just exactly what cubs do. That play fighting, skills that are so important to learn as they get older. The one in the tree jumping down, little mock charge. And now comes some help. Right, just to give everybody an update on the radio. The stations there, Nkuhuma Pride have now moved east away from Gelagopan down towards the riverbed. Visual of just the tail end of the cubs. I'm in the area, you're more than welcome to join. It's just myself, no one else on approach yet. Copy that. You're welcome. When you get here, please, if you wouldn't mind taking over the lock, just from an administration point of view. So now this little cub, most of the cubs are heading away. Mom is now coming back to fetch them. Look at this little cub on the left hand side hunting this dove. So some doves gave this little cub a fright. Although the doves are now walking away from him, he was stalking. See the ones in the tree on the left hand side, Brian? That is such an awesome picture, that. Oh no, it is such an awesome sight. In that sort of picture that you're just watching there now appeals to me. Action on all sides. Little cubs just run down there now. What I don't want to do is start my car. There's one little cub that was hunting the dove. He's now would be cut off if I moved toward those cubs. So I think what I'm going to do is just wait here and see what happens. Mom came back out of the shadows to call them, but they don't seem to be paying her any mind whatsoever. It's just cubs sort of littered across this open area here. There he goes. He's going to come and join his friends in the tree. Let's see what they do to him. They'll probably try and hunt him to some effect or another. Ambush him from the side of the bush. Yes, you can see them go down. There you go. And watch the other one ambushing, gone flat on the left-hand side of the path. You can just see the outline of the head there in the grass. That is just thousands of years worth of lion behavior. Shamsung, yes, you've just made a comment that they remind you of Tigger, the way they bounce around there. I have no doubt that someone watched lion cubs at a point and then modeled these cartoon characters on them. There's sometimes the likeness is uncanny that they can generate from those early cartoon characters. Oops. Embarrassed. Running off. Alright, now we have got our work cut out for us trying to get into that place. I must be honest, it's not going to be the easiest finding out where these cubs have slept. Alright, so I think while I figure out exactly where these lions are going to hole up for the day, it would be a good idea to send you through to Brent. He's got an update on what he's been busy with.
Bad news. Wild dogs were too fast even for VM and myself this morning. They have crossed out of our Traverse area. So I'm slowly going to head down to the south and go have a look for Queen Karula. See if those baboons didn't chase her. Let's take one last camera. If the baboons didn't chase her back to the north yesterday. Now, I told that story for those of you who might be logging in a little late. Last night or yesterday evening, little Shongile chased a baby baboon into the middle of the troop and nearly got killed. Huh? Male leopard tracks. Oh. Hyenas. Let's have a quick look. I see hyenas. What have we over there? A hippopotamus and hyena. Oh, VM. It's not often VM gets a track wrong. It's the disappointment of those wild dogs escaping us, I think. Ah, there we go. The excuses are coming. The exact same size as the male leopard. So we're going to head down to that area, see if we can have a squiz around for the Queen of Djuma. Maybe she's moved north. The baboons seem to be spending a lot of time around the Mawati sleeping, and that's where she got chased. So Shongile ran off after a baby baboon. Karula actually had to run in and charge the baboons to stop them from hurting her cub. So it might be a good idea to go see if they've maybe moved away from the southern areas and up into the north.